So you're thinking about moving to Tampa, or you already live here and you're just sick and tired of people talking about our city, these crazy myths about Tampa. We're gonna debunk 11 of them today. These myths are outdated. They're about as stale as a 1-week-old Cuban sandwich. So you're gonna be in for a ride. From everyone's retired and golfing by 3 p.m. to we're basically living in a hurricane 24/7. We're gonna tackle all of those and basically jump right in to show you what it's actually like to live here in Tampa. First up, everybody thinks that Tampa is just one big shuffleboard court for retirees. Yeah, you've heard it. Everybody's 80+ years old, drives golf carts, and basically goes to bed before Jeopardy is over. Well, I hate to break it to you, Tampa is more than early bird specials and bingo nights. So let's give this stereotype a reality check. Sure, Florida has a reputation for attracting retirees, but Tampa today is young, it's vibrant. The median age for the city of Tampa is around 36 years old, far younger than Florida's census reports. So that basically means for every grandma that's power walking Bayshore Boulevard, there are plenty of millennials, Gen Zers, jogging, pushing strollers, and scootering to their nearest coffee shop. So while we love our retirees, hi grandma, it's plain wrong to think that Tampa's only for silver hair, if you still have your hair. So the vibe here is a lot more mixed and youthful than maybe that stereotype leads you to believe. So myth number 2, Tampa is boring. Nothing exciting happens here. Boy, oh boy. This is the one that makes the locals roll their eyes when they might hear somebody say or see somewhere that says Tampa's boring and there's nothing to do. That's a huge myth. Some people think if it's not Miami or Orlando, maybe it's a big old snooze fest. But let me tell you, it's far from the truth. So if you believe that we're just sitting around watching paint dry, kind of bored, sitting inside our house watching Netflix, nope, you have another thing coming. Because if you're bored in Tampa, you're doing something wrong. Seriously, let's break down on how much fun you can actually have. You know, another fun stat is Tampa was recently ranked 17th most fun city in America, with a top 10 score in entertainment, recreation, over 180 cities. There's a ton to do. We've got bustling nightlife in Ybor. When you think Ybor, think live music and historic Cuban bars, trendy restaurants and breweries in Seminole Heights, and of course, the pro sports. We always talk about the pro sports, obviously with the red hot Buccaneers, the red hot Lightning, and yes, we even have the Tampa Bay Rays. But let's not forget our festivals. You ever heard of Gasparilla? Gasparilla's wild. Gasparilla is an annual pirate parade with 300,000 plus people invading Bayshore Boulevard in full pirate gear.
The Gasparilla spirit's in the air, and every soul's a pirate today. Raise your cups, the pirates have landed.
See, with that parade, Tampa basically throws one of the biggest parties in the country, and everybody's invited. So whether you're into art shows, foodie events, or concerts, Tampa's got it all. And boring left Tampa a long time ago. So myth number 3, it's hotter than Hades all year round. Basically, everybody's saying that Tampa is hot as the surface of the sun 24/7. Kind of like we're all melting into puddles or sitting in this eternal sauna. I won't lie, July in Tampa, I feel a little bit like a roasted chicken. But do we really fry an egg on the sidewalk in January? Come on, let's be real. Let's give you a little bit more perspective. Yes, Tampa is in Florida. And yes, summers are hot and humid. But the idea that it's always sweltering is completely an exaggeration. We actually do have seasons. Maybe not the snow and scarves variety like I came from in Michigan. Those winter months were miserable. Tampa cools down pretty nice in January, being its coldest month. And it usually hits temperatures right around an average of 70 or 71 degrees. At night, though, it can dip into the 50s. Not exactly Hades, huh? And even me, as hot as I get, I find myself putting on a hoodie during those couple months where it gets a little bit chillier in the mornings. So as for the summer, yeah, it's warm. It's 80s and 90s, and sometimes it does get in the 90s and stays there for a good amount of time. But those same summer months, we get afternoon thunderstorms, and it cools things off for a minute, but then of course there comes the humidity. So it is not hot like Hades 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We have these unbelievable days, unbelievable mornings, unbelievable evenings, and there are a few months in the summer that definitely are hotter than the others. So as you can see, that myth is kind of busted. Tampa is not a year-round oven. It's gorgeous. Majority of the year, it's so gorgeous, that's why all these people are moving here. And we got to put up with a couple of the hotter months. Not a big deal. So if you're thinking about moving to the Tampa Bay area, I have good news for you. My team and I put together a really awesome relocation guide. And it's going to save you a lot of time, effort, and energy if you just download the guide. Click on the top link in the comments, or even scan this QR code, and you're going to see the guide gives you a pretty good baseline of what's happening in and around Tampa with some of the hottest new areas to pay attention to. We're gonna talk hospitals, schools, restaurants, kind of give you some links, and maybe we're gonna even insert some more QR codes so you can get right to some of the other videos that we have for very specific purposes. But I'm here for you regardless. The guide's here for you. It's free. Let us know how we can help. Myth number 4, Tampa equals Hurricane Central. So if you watch the Weather Channel too much, you're basically gonna believe that Tampa is a magnet for hurricanes. Almost like we're getting slammed with hurricanes every single week. If that was the case, who would even live here? Not me. So we hear it all the time. Don't you guys get hit with hurricanes all the time? Well, here's the plot twist. This myth is over 100 years old. In fact, let's talk hurricanes and let's talk history so we can debunk this myth too, because the story actually might surprise you. Obviously, Tampa's on the Gulf Coast. So yes, we keep an eye on tropical storms every single season. But the idea that Tampa is constantly smashed with hurricanes is absolutely false. In reality, the last direct hit from a major hurricane was in 1921. That's 104 years ago. That was the infamous 1921 storm that flooded downtown. And since then, every big hurricane has kind of skirted us. We got lucky. It's almost legendary, actually. Many storms aimed at Tampa veer away at the last minute. For example, Hurricane Charlie in 2004, Irma in 17, and Ian in 22. All of these took last-minute turns. Locals even believe that the Tocobaga tribe, the Indians from a long way back, is actually what's blessing Tampa and what's protecting Tampa from these major storms. Of course, luck isn't a plan, and eventually, a big one could have a bullseye in Tampa and actually hit us, but it's been 104 years. But calling Tampa Hurricane Central is definitely not accurate because we've been spared for many, many decades. So no, we're not hunkering down in bathtubs every week. We just stay aware and we stay prepared, knowing direct hits to Tampa have been remarkably rare. Definitely not Hurricane Central. All right, now to myth number 5. The cost of living in Tampa is super cheap. There once was a day that Florida was the land of cheap homes and even cheaper margaritas. I hear those were some pretty great times, but times have changed, and a lot of people still think that Tampa is dirt cheap paradise. Almost like one of those HGTV shows. You can, have a bartender's salary and move here and live oceanfront. I really hate to burst your bubble if that's what you think it is here, but this myth for sure needs a 2025 update. So you may have heard, Tampa was once a budget-friendly alternative to places like Miami, but lately the secret's out. Prices have jumped. In fact, a recent study ranked Tampa as one of the most expensive cities in Florida when you're comparing the local incomes versus living cost. Salaries haven't kept up with the rising rents and home prices. For example, an average rent in downtown Tampa, one bedroom, is around $2,000 a month right now. Yes, $2,000 a month. And home prices have climbed to record highs over the past few years. By 2023, Tampa actually topped the list of least affordable Florida metros relative to income, even above Miami in some measure. So while the myth of Tampa being super affordable is definitely outdated here in 2025, if you compare it to San Francisco, New York, Miami, it's still definitely a better buy when you're choosing to live here. And remember, we don't have state income tax. So if you're expecting 1980s prices here in Tampa, it's definitely a sign of the past because Tampa's popularity has increased, therefore driving costs up over the last couple decades. So the moral of the story is do your budget homework. Tampa is not a cheap place. It's not Cheapville, it's not dirt paradise. You gotta do your research before you pack those bags, because if not, you might be a little disappointed. So myth number 6, there are no good jobs in Tampa unless you're in hospitality. So let's bust the myth that Tampa's job market begins with flipping burgers, cleaning hotel rooms, or selling sunscreen to tourists. So basically what you're telling me, if you don't work at a resort or maybe Busch Gardens, you're out of luck. So none of that is true. Tampa is not a one-trick pony. In fact, Tampa's becoming more of a job hotspot than ever before. And it's not just the obvious industries. Let me brag about our job scene for a minute. So over time, Tampa's economy is truly diversified. Tourism and hospitality are still important. We do love our theme parks, we do love our cruise ships, and of course, we love our restaurants and our beaches. So they're only part of the story though. See, Tampa is an emerging hub, finance, healthcare, and tech. All the major companies, big banks, insurance, cybersecurity startups, entrepreneurs set up shop here. Over the last 5 years, Tampa's tech industry has grown about 30%, with more than 50,000 people now working in tech roles across the Tampa Bay area. We have Fortune 500 companies headquartered here, a vibrant medical sector, and of course, MacDill Air Force Base, which not only brings government jobs, it also brings civilian jobs. The nickname Wall Street of the South happens to be thrown around a little bit in Tampa because of our growing financial sector. So the old notion of the only job in town is working for a t-shirt shop on the beach, that's all false. Tampa's job market is booming in many different industries and in many different sectors. The good news is, it's still good to go to the beach on the weekends. Myth number 7, Tampa has no culture or history, it's just strip malls. I don't know where that came from, but a lot of people think a lot of the Florida cities are sitting vacant culturally. Like they don't know that culturally a lot of these Florida cities are rich in history, including Tampa. And so this is one myth that we definitely need to bust, because Florida's more than strip malls and beach towns. There's a lot more to Tampa that maybe we should unpack. Tampa's story stretches back centuries, and it's anything but boring. We have a unique blend of cultures thanks to our history. In the late 1800s, Tampa's Ybor City was an enclave for cigar manufacturing. Cuban, Spanish, and Italian immigrants built an industry that earned Tampa the nickname Cigar City, producing 500 million cigars per year by the early 1900s. And I'm standing here at the original Columbia restaurant in Ybor City, and there's a plaque over there that says 1905. 1905 is when this place was just hustling and bustling. This is Ybor City, and this has a lot of history. So between hand-rolled cigars, unbelievable Cuban food, a lot of those traditions are still alive in Ybor today. The brick streets, the old factories, they really tell stories about the immigrant roots. Tampa also lays claim to creating the Cuban sandwich. And Miami's not gonna like me saying that, but we did it first, and we did it in the 1890s. Miami came after that. Culturally, we've got museums like the Tampa Museum of Art, the Salvador Dali Museum just across the bay, and we have a vibrant music history. Legendary artists like Ray Charles got their start here, right on Central Avenue. Big annual events celebrating everything from Greek food to pirates. So no, Tampa isn't just a cultural wasteland of strip malls. You'll find historic neighborhoods, world-class art, and a melting pot of communities. Our past and our present are on full display here in Tampa. You just have to know where to look, and you have to get out there and explore it a little. Hey guys, so as you can see, I love making these videos. It's one of my favorite things to do, but not as much as I love helping people. I love helping people relocate to the Tampa area and do it a lot smoother and cleaner than it was for me when I moved here with my family. A family of 7 relocating from Michigan was no small chore. But I'm here for you. My contact information is down here below. Feel free to call me, text me, email me, download the guide, click on the QR code, however you want to get a hold of me. I'm here for you. So myth number 8, Tampa is unsafe and has a crime problem. Yeah, we're gonna expose this one. See, when I hear people say Tampa's like living in the Wild West and there's crime, I don't know if you're living in the same city or you're seeing the same thing I am. You know, we all have that cousin that sees a Florida Man headline and thinks that we're all ducking stray bullets on the way to Publix. You know, no city is crime-free, and Tampa definitely has crime. But is it especially dangerous? Actually, this one might surprise you. Despite what maybe a sensational media outlet might say about any given city, or Tampa, Tampa is actually one of the safer big cities in the US. So back in 2022, actually, when it was last evaluated, Tampa had the 2nd lowest violent crime rate per capita amongst cities similar in size. When looking at 59 major US cities, Tampa ranked 14th for lowest violent crime overall. That's 14 out of 59. That means only 13 cities out of those 59 were actually considered safer than Tampa. But we have this huge crime problem. Of course, like any urban area, we have neighborhoods that struggle with crime, and you should use common sense. Lock your doors, don't leave your bike out overnight, you know, those things. But the old image of Tampa being a high crime town is pretty outdated. In reality, our community policing efforts and the neighborhood programs have paid off immensely. You'll see people jogging on the Riverwalk at night, families at parks. There's a strong presence of police and law enforcement everywhere, keeping things orderly. So no, Tampa is not some crime-riddled swamp. All the numbers suggest it's safer than most and getting safer by the year. Myth busted. Myth number 9 is you can't get around without a car in Tampa. Well, if you've ever heard that it's utterly impossible to survive in Tampa without a car, well, I can tell you, that's just a myth. And maybe years ago, when public transportation wasn't as available, maybe that's the truth. But car only, it's almost like people feel like they have to have a vehicle and they're glued to the steering wheel and sit just to sit in hours of Tampa traffic. Sure, if you live in the suburbs, you might want your own vehicle. That's where we live. We live in the suburbs, we have our own vehicle. But if I had maybe a different lifestyle, or if I was used to living in Boston, San Francisco, or New York, I would rely on public transportation. And the system here is great. Between the trolleys, the buses, and other forms of public transportation, it's all here for you. It's true that Tampa grew up as a very car-centric city. So the myth that you're completely stranded without a car in Tampa is completely outdated. The downtown and adjacent districts have become more walkable and transit-friendly in recent years. For instance, the Tampa Riverwalk, that 2.5-mile path that we showed you along the waterfront, has made walking downtown a pleasure instead of a chore. We also have the Tico historic streetcar that links downtown to Ybor City, and it's completely free to ride. Since those fees were eliminated, streetcar usage has exploded here in Tampa. The latest stats we have is there are 1.3 million people in 2023 that actually use the free transportation. It's here for you, why not use it? There's also a Cross Bay ferry to St. Pete during the cooler months. They're expanding all the bike lanes, and the new Sunrunner Rapid Bus gets you right to the beaches. Basically, you can live here in central Tampa without a car, especially if you live and work downtown, Channelside, or somewhere in South Tampa. But as I mentioned, you probably want your own wheels, your own car, if you want to venture into the suburbs or if that's where you live. Not everybody is fortunate enough to live right here in the city. And myth number 10, Tampa equals beaches and theme parks. You couldn't be any further from the truth. So obviously, Tampa is not just Disney and beaches. Now, Disney and Universal Studios is over an hour away in Orlando. We do have Busch Gardens and we have Zoo Tampa, and right in Channelside, we have a really awesome aquarium, the Florida Aquarium. So we have a couple things like that. But this is not what Tampa is all about. Busch Gardens is cool, Zoo Tampa is great, Florida Aquarium's awesome, but Tampa is much more than beaches and theme parks. So for all of you that think Tampa is just a perpetual spring break, let me laugh for a minute. The reality is much different. You know, it's interesting, we get lumped in with the broader Florida vacation image. Living here is much more than thrill rides and beach towels. For starters, the city of Tampa isn't directly in the Gulf of Mexico. We're in Tampa Bay, which means the famous white sand beaches like Siesta Key, or Anna Maria Island, or even over at Clearwater, those are just a short drive away. In fact, we can't even walk to the beach from downtown. You have to jump on the Sunrunner if you want to go to the beach, or you can just drive there. Typically it's a 30 to 45 minute drive, but as I always tell people, in 1 hour from where I live more in the suburbs, in 1 hour I'm on vacation. And when I get done being on vacation for that day, I come home and I sleep in my own bed. It's kind of the best of both worlds. So as much as you all think daily life is about sipping pina coladas by the ocean, it's not. It's working, it's going to school, it's enjoying parks, restaurants, and local hangouts. So Tampa has a real downtown, it has a real skyline, it has universities and diversified neighborhoods. It has a little bit of everything. It's not just beaches and Disney. So if you're into historic districts or historic towns, I would say check out Ybor City and check out Hyde Park. Those are really a couple hot spots in Tampa. But if you're into arts and culture, or if you're into the foodie scene, Tampa's got all of that. We're a bigger picture. We're a fantastic place to live and a great place to visit. So what we've experienced with our family, when we moved here from Michigan, we didn't know. We knew we wanted to be on the Gulf Coast. We didn't know how great Tampa was. Tampa's been amazing for us, and we're about 30, 35 minutes away from Tampa in the suburbs. But that's okay. That's part of our lifestyle, and that's what we're okay with. But weekly, you'll find us in Tampa for some reason. We're either going to a restaurant with friends, we're going to the Riverwalk on a date night, or we're catching a Bucks game or a Lightning game. There's a lot to do in Tampa, so let's wipe away that myth. It's not just about beaches and Disney. So as you can probably imagine, we get a lot of people that contact us from this channel and reach out to us, and my team and I are here to provide a service for you, to help you relocate. You're gonna get me. You're gonna get me on a Zoom, and we're gonna talk about everything that you need, want, or desire when making a move here. But I do have a question. Where are you moving from? Is it cold? What is it? What's making you move, and where are you moving from? It's always fascinating to me because I made a move from Michigan, cold weather state, and I was chasing paradise, and I found it. But curious, comments please? Let me know. Where are you moving from? I'm here to help. So myth number 11, Tampa's a small town, not a big city. So let's address that myth. Tampa's not some little backwater town. I've heard folks say, oh really, Tampa? Isn't that like a medium-sized city? Kind of cute, but not much going on. Okay, that was probably a really horrible accent that I threw on that. But Tampa is actually huge. And if you underestimate it, you're gonna be in for quite a surprise. So now it's time for me to drop a little bit of knowledge and maybe a little bit of pride to tell you what Tampa's all about. Despite what outsiders think, Tampa is no small town. The city of Tampa is the third most populated city in Florida. The only two that are bigger would be Jacksonville and Miami. And when you look at the Tampa Bay metro area, we've got over 3.4 million, making this the second largest metro in Florida and the 17th largest in the entire United States. That's right, the greater Tampa Bay area is right up there with Seattle and Minneapolis for size of city. See, we have big city amenities, a major international airport, probably the best airport in the country. See, Tampa is the state's largest port, the Port of Tampa. We have Fortune 500 company headquarters, top-notch universities. Our downtown has been booming with new high-rises, including a shiny new waterfront district, Water Street, changing the skyline. And I'm really excited to tell you about Aura, which is a high-rise condo, hotel, conference center, and that's gonna change the skyline as well. So calling Tampa small is just flat out wrong now. This city has grown a ton, especially in the last decade. And if you still doubt me about the size of Tampa, do me a favor, just come here, get on I-275 around rush hour, and you'll see how big Tampa really is. Now, we don't have that appearance as big as Miami. We don't have that yet, dare I say that, because there's a lot happening in Tampa. The skyline is changing, but this myth is officially busted. And there we have it, 11 myths about living in Tampa that are officially busted. Whether you're moving here or already call the 813 home, I hope it set the record straight and maybe gave you a laugh or two. See, Tampa's a fantastic place to live. Yes, every city has its quirks, but it's also real. Facts beat fiction 100% of the time. So next time somebody says that we're all retired or hiding from hurricanes or riding our pet alligators, you're gonna know that's not all true. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed watching me sip my Cuban coffee while exposing these Tampa myths, give me a video thumbs up or drop a comment. And if you have any myths that maybe we can put on the next video, please let me know.